Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we've got a new Celebi card to be having a look at. It's going to be coming out in Unified Minds, and it could be really gosh darned annoying. Or it could just sit there and get KO'd really easily. Either way, ladies and gentlemen, we need to take a look at it. Now, this was one of those ones where I found it on a Japanese blog and used Google Translate and compared it to extra cards, etc. But I also got some help from the lovely Joe from Celebi.net. And yes, I love that Joe from Celebi.net helped me translate a Celebi card. Call that a bucket wish item. So, with all of that out of the way, Celebi then. Is it any good? It's weak. It's very weak. It's got 80 HP, which is low, but it's not Professor Elm's lecture searching low, which kind of sucks. And it's got a weakness to fire. And weakness to fire sucks. Because you've got stuff like Welder now, and fire decks are just so much better. Something like a Volcanion, if you don't have 4 energy on the field, will easily over KO this. So no, ladies and gentlemen, I don't like having a fire weakness in the latter half of 2019. That doesn't make me happy. I do like having a retreat cost of 1 because it means I get free retreat with either escape board or U-turn board. So that makes me kind of happy. And I also don't really care about being a grass type. Now, you're a basic grass, so you get netball to search yourself out. Yay! But I mean, look, grass is good for healing with stuff like Life Forest Prism Star and the Shaman from Lost Thunder. And you don't have those cards when you're an 80 HP Pokemon for bad weakness. No, not loving it, ladies and gentlemen. Not loving it. But I do like the first attack, and the first attack is what makes me very happy here. Now, Joe tells me it's called Time Spiral, and depending on your knowledge of the Pokemon trading card game, that might sound familiar. It is an attack which we have seen on precisely 3 cards in the past. The Lilip from Sandstorm, the Haunter from Legend Maker, and most recently the Omastar from Arceus, which was right as I was getting into the game, and it's what reminded me of it. So, what does it actually do? Well, the older cards flip the coin, the newer cards don't. Choose one of your opponent's evolution Pokemon. Remove the highest stage evolution card from that Pokemon. Your opponent shuffles it into his or her deck. It's a devolving attack. And look, right, it's Celebi. Of course Celebi was going to have something to do with evolving or devolving. It's Celebi. I mean, the most recent Celebi we got was the Celebi Prism Star. And Celebi Prism Star had Time Distortion for 1 colorless energy, devolve any number of your bench Pokemon as you like, putting each evolution card removed this way into your hand. It was fun for reusing coming into playability like Greninja to just go nuts with damage, but it's, as far as I'm aware at least, seen literally no play from anyone ever. This new one's an oddity though, because I don't see most of the time how you're really going to get value out of this attack. Now, the exception here is if your opponent has used Rare Candy. So, if your opponent's relying on Rare Candy, they've skipped the stage of evolution. So they've got a stage 2 sitting there, and then you make them shuffle that stage 2 back into their deck, but there is no stage 1, so they're just left with a basic. Firstly, they've got to grab the stage 2 and a Rare Candy to get the stage 2 back out next turn. And secondly, that Rare Candy's gone. Like, it's really hard to recover item cards. Now, maybe you're playing a Metagross deck, which means that you're playing Metal Energy. And maybe you're playing Mount Coronet to get that Metal Energy back. And maybe you're playing Mullane. Discard 2 Metal Energy from your hand, shuffle an item card back into your deck from your discard. Or if you've got a Mount Coronet on the field, just shuffle it back in, don't worry about the energy. So maybe you are, but most people aren't. That Rare Candy's gone and it's never coming back. So let's say you're playing against a Vikavolt deck, a deck which I am loving at the moment, though I'm not quite settling on a great list at the moment. They've got 1 Vikavolt out that they've Rare Candied. It's hitting 220 damage, it's doing a lot. Well, you shuffle it back into their deck and you go, right, if you've got nothing else, I'm rolling. And I can use an escape board next turn, or just retreat, because I've got a retreat cost of 1 and I've clearly got an energy attached. That's how I use my attack. And then just slow your opponent down. Just shuffling it back into their deck isn't going to win you the game, incidentally. You're going to need to do something more than that. You're going to need to get some damage going, get some attacks off. But doing this and then getting some attacks off, yeah, I'm all in favour of it. What you really want with this Celebi attack is a way to shut your opponent out the game for a little while. So let's take some of the cards we looked at yesterday. Hopefully yesterday, I suppose it depends on the upload order. But we've got a whole bunch of sleepy cards. So Slumber Forest is a lovely new stadium whereby you have to flip 2 coins between turns for sleep, and if either of them are tails, you don't wake up. So now maybe you put them to sleep. Maybe using the new Amoongus that's got a really nice ability whereby if you play a Pokemon with the attack Spore from your hand, your opponent's active Pokemon is asleep and poisoned. And if you can leave them asleep for a couple of turns, you can afford, probably, to use one of those turns to get Celebi out and start devolving them. And this is how we run with Celebi. The reality is you're not likely to just leave Celebi in the active, devolving your opponent turn after turn after turn after turn, and then winning the game. Maybe you can. Maybe you keep devolving them and then they eventually deck out. Maybe you devolve them so much they run out of rare candy and they just cannot ever get going. But I don't think that's realistic. I think buying a turn or 2 with Celebi while you take some key KOs or get set up is probably the niche here. But there is another attack here as well. 1 grass energy, 20 damage, plus confusion. This is the kind of attack that I like to describe as fine. Not particularly good, not particularly bad, fine. Simple as that. It's Xurkitree. It's literally Xurkitree. It's a basic Pokemon that for 1 coloured energy does 20 damage plus confusion. Now, Xurkitree also had the bigger attack and a bigger HP and all of that, but essentially it's Xurkitree. And look, we're moving into a format which is way better suited for these kind of cards. People aren't going to be playing Ace Roller to pick up Pokemon that are confused, and people aren't going to be playing Guzma to switch out Pokemon that are confused. So maybe special conditions are better positioned than they've been for a while. I personally think that they are. And look, clearly these 2 attacks work together. You confuse them using Celebi, and then while they're confused, you start devolving them. Is 20 damage plus confusion going to be enough to run away with a game? Probably not. But can you confuse them for a turn or 2? And then start devolving and have a whale of a time? Yes. Absolutely yes, you can. Now, in the format we're at the moment, we're really looking at Pokemon like Reshiram and Charizard and Zapdos. We are in a basic Pokemon-heavy format. Maybe that means this isn't going to be great immediately, but formats chop and change, ladies and gentlemen. Formats move around. There's nothing to say this isn't going to be different in 6 months or a year's time. I don't know if right now I can see Celebi fitting into any decks. I think it's a really fun, interesting Pokemon, and I think that devolving is a very strong mechanic. The problem is we had Porygon Z recently that did this as an ability, the one from Burning Shadows. In fact, we've still actually got it, and it's got a really nice ability where you can devolve each of your opponent's Pokemon into their hand. It's not really seen any play. Although, to be fair, shuffling into their deck is way better. I mean, the one Pokemon that did make real use of this was Espeon GX, which spread a bit of damage around, had some low energy attacks, and comboed really nicely with Espeon EX, that for 1 colourless energy, just devolved each of your opponent's Pokemon 1 stage back to their hand, just like Porygon Z did. And the 2 Espeon, we actually did see this. And maybe in a spreading deck, this will work and get you some key KOs. but I still come back to I don't think it's quite enough. Because again, when you're devolving multiple Pokemon, you can spread a bunch of damage around and take 3 or 4 KOs at once. Celebi's only ever taking 1 KO. I like this card, I think it's interesting, I don't think it's the right format for it. I'm going to be giving it free Wassies because I do believe that you should have a copy or 2 in your binder, and I do believe that one day this might be good, but I don't know if today is that day. So that's what I think about it, ladies and gentlemen, but I would very much like to know what you think about it. So please do let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at The Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where we talk about games that don't even have Pokemon in. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time. Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.